Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, as Bunnysays, I want to introduce you to a new Let's Play. I think people who have watched before know that I'm a Sherlock Holmes fan, so I'm going to be playing Sherlock Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper. Now, it was important to me to play these in a row because I felt like the games had a sort of, there was a through story going, a storyline going through the games a little bit, I think involving Moriarty, and I think continue on later into the newer games. Now, I think that's pretty good, and I like that. I do want to say I'm going to do this in a quiet ASMR fashion, but obviously, since it's dealing with Jack the Ripper, there's going to be scenes of some gruesome violence, I imagine, or intimations of it anyway. If you're squeamish or this doesn't appeal to you, feel free to check out any other Let's Play or whatever you feel like. Now I went into the game, and I changed the options. Here are the options. The options seem to be very much like the other game, the last one. I'm assuming they're using it feels like the same engine, possibly maybe a little updated, I'm not sure. Control should be relatively the same. Let's see, action. Okay, run. Q and E, the previous items. Okay, yep. Inventory is I, dialogue, V, notes, documents, map. Okay. Everything feels about the same. I haven't played the other game in a little while, so I'll have to have a bit of time to adjust to what's going on. Now, I had to jump into the game a little bit to check out the sound controls and the sound volumes. I think I have them set up pretty well, so it shouldn't sound too loud or too low. Maybe it might be a little bit lower than normal, but okay, well, let's just get into it and see how it goes. So please sit back and check out Sherlock Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper.
In the name of my health and yours, Holmes, stop smoking so much. There is more fog in our apartment than in the street.
You are right, Watson, but this evening is never ending, and I have nothing to do but make smoke rings. A more amusing pastime would suit better, but my doctor is against it.
Perhaps a little tune on the violin.
My heart is not in it tonight, Watson. Have you noticed how this cigarette burns? Would you not say it is like a life being consumed? How many lives will end tonight in London? How many crimes will be committed within the life of a single cigarette? Ah, the vanity of existence. It is but complaints and smoke, the meagre panache of its sickly soul.
The tobacco is giving you very sombre thoughts. I am certain that this inactivity will not last. Let's retire. You'll be in better humour tomorrow.
Reason speaks. Let's to bed.
Also be aware that, yes, Sherlock Holmes does smoke. He often would smoke cigarettes in stories. He doesn't smoke his pipe all the time. They're more often than not, they would actually have cigarettes. A new adventure of Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper. That's Frogwares. That's the company. We're going down a London street here. Somebody seems very tall. They have a very high point of view. Whitechapel, London. 31st of August, 1888, 3:20 a.m. Oh, or somebody could be riding a carriage.
Come this way, my lovely. We'll have a right good time. Wait, let me help you. Oh, it's my hair that pleases you.
Oh. Well, oh my God, that sound. Well, okay. Baker Street, September 1st, 1888.
The news is as
presumably
dark as the
next day.
sky, Holmes. An inquest has been opened into the murder of a poor woman in the East End. The unfortunate girl was discovered last night, lying in the street, still warm. The murderer was filled with an incredible savagery. Oh, the article gave me shivers down my spine. The inspectors in charge of the case don't seem to have even the slightest lead. A similar murder took place less than a month ago.
Ah, love. A romantic walk, a kiss in the moonlight, a polite refusal, a terrible anger, and a hanging.
This area of Whitechapel is a disgrace to London. The government should take serious note of what is going on there.
Whitechapel? This woman was found in Whitechapel?
Yes, indeed. Bucks Row, to be specific.
Then it was not a question of romance, but of commerce. Unless these women actually take pleasure in the vice, the female nature is completely...
Holmes, do you hear yourself? A woman is dead under unspeakable circumstances. No less than any other, she was a human, and one of Her Majesty's subjects. None of these streetwalkers of which you speak have any other way to survive but by selling their bodies. You know as well as I that our era is not a gentle one, and these women don't have much to look forward to. Some grace, if you would. Do not refuse them your compassion.
Do not say another word, my dear Watson. We shall leave immediately for Whitechapel.
To the scene of the crime?
No, I think it would be better to arrive there a bit later once night has fallen. At the moment, the spot will be overrun by police officers and spectators. It would be impossible to investigate properly.
Then where are we going, Holmes?
The best thing to do would be to head to the police station and attempt to get a copy of the preliminary reports.
But the article in the Star seemed quite complete to me.
You must know, Watson, that journalists often draw conclusions from the facts without a proper understanding of how to do this delicate task. We must obtain the reports from the inspector in charge, as well as those from the coroner.
Very well, Holmes, but all the same.
It seems to me that I have a map of London somewhere, Watson. Can you find it and locate Whitechapel while I get ready?
You are too kind, Holmes. Searching through your mess?
Now, just want to say a few words quickly. I really do appreciate these guys' voices. I really like the voice for both Holmes and Watson. They're very good. I have tried to listen to the very new Sherlock Holmes and the Devil's Daughter and the Sherlock Holmes and the what was it called? The Crimes and Punishment, I believe. It was a Devil's Daughter, actually, I was listening to, and I was having a real problem with the voice. The voices, they seem to try to action it up, sort of like the movies, you know? And I don't particularly appreciate that. I really find it's known that he would Sherlock Holmes obviously has a very like a very high-end accent, or a very posh accent like that, you know, a posh way of speaking, a very and he seemed very, in the new game, he seemed very, you know, quote, street, you know. But I was listening to it more, and I was trying to let it, and it was growing on me a bit. So I think I just need to accept it more as like a new type of, they want to take it in a little bit of a different direction. They want to make sort of, you know, do some things with it. And I thought, okay, alright, I'll have to see when I get the game and play it. So I only listened to it very little bit. You know, I saw like the trailer and stuff, and I watched like a minute of it maybe. I just wanted to see what the voices were. I wanted to see if the same guys were doing the voices, and they certainly not, unless this guy has a really great vocal range. But okay. Also, I just want to mention that when he was, by the way, when Jack the Ripper was strangling that woman, it looked like there was a third hand. Something was from the side there. Something come out of the side there, and it looked like a hand with the, you know, fingernails, long fingernails. So, I think they're quickly assuming there are two people. That there is a person and an accomplice. Which, by the way, is, I believe, the general understanding, but or a very common theory. But anyway, let's see. We have here. We have a menu. It's a very simple menu. As before, items, dialogues, documents, notes, map, first person's perspective, and of course resume. We have the star, Saturday, 1st September 1888. That was 9:35, by the way, that they were having breakfast. This presumably is the day after, since it was August 31st at 3 in the morning in the last thing there. So okay, let's check this out. The Star, London, special edition, the Whitechapel Horror. Now this is interesting. I'm wondering if they're using the actual some of the actual quotation, some of the actual lines from the different some newspaper reports. That'd be really interesting if they did. Anyway, let's continue. Special edition, the Whitechapel Horror. The third crime of a man who must be a maniac. Woman lured to by streets to be butchered. The latest victim identified. Opening of the inquest. Great local excitement. The victim of the latest Whitechapel Horror, the woman who was found yesterday morning in Bucks Row, completely disemboweled, and with her head nearly gashed from her body, was for a time completely unknown. As the news of the murder spread, however, first one woman and then another came forward to view the body, and at length it was found that a woman answering the description of the murdered woman had lodged in a common lodging house, 18 Thrall Street, Spitalfields. Women from that place were fetched and they identified the deceased as Polly, who had shared a room with 3 other women in the place on the usual terms of such houses, nightly payment of 4D. 4D was, I can't remember what the D was. I remember that's just, it's you know, it's a normal nightly payment. It's a money, you know, nightly payment of 4D each woman having a separate bed. It was gathered that the deceased had led the life of an unfortunate while lodging in the house, which was only for about 3 weeks past. Nothing more was known of her by then, but that when she presented herself for her lodging on Thursday night, she was turned away by the deputy because she had not the money. She was then the worse for drink, but not drunk, and turned away laughing, saying, "I'll soon get my DOS," that's what it is, DOS money. "I'll soon get my DOS money. See what a jolly bonnet I've got now?" She was wearing a bonnet which she had not been seen with before, and left the lodging door. A woman of the neighborhood saw her later, she told the police, even as late as 2:30 on Friday morning in Whitechapel Road. Did I go too far? Yes. Okay, this is going on for a bit. I'm still gonna read it. I don't care. Late as 2:30 on Friday morning in Whitechapel Road, opposite the church and at the corner of Osborne Street, and at 3:45, she was found within 500 yards of the spot murdered. The people of the lodging house knew her as Polly, but at about 7:30 last evening, a woman named Mary Ann Monk, at present an inmate of Lambeth Workhouse, was taken to the mortuary and identified the body as that of Mary Ann Nichols, also called Polly Nichols. She knew her, she said, as they were inmates of the Lambeth Workhouse together in April and May last, the deceased having been passed there from another workhouse. On 12 May, according to Monk, Nichols left the workhouse to take a situation as servant at Ingleside, Wandsworth Common. It afterwards became known that Nichols betrayed her trust as domestic servant by stealing £3 from her employer and absconding. From that time, she had been wandering about. Monk met her, she said, about 6 weeks ago, when herself out of the workhouse, Monk met her, she said, about 6 weeks ago, when herself out of the workhouse and drank with her. Okay, that's a mess up. There's a typo there. Okay. She met her and drank with her. Okay. She was sure the deceased was Polly Nichols, and having twice viewed the features as the body lay in a shell, maintained her opinion. There's a terribly significant similarity between this ghastly crime and the 2 mysterious murders of women which have occurred in the same district within the last 3 months. In each case, the victim has been a woman of abandoned character. Each crime has been committed in the dark hours of the morning, and more important still, as pointing to one man, and that man a maniac, being the culprit. Each murder has been accompanied by hideous mutilation. In the second case, that of the woman Martha Turner, it will be remembered that no fewer than 30 stabs were inflicted. The scene of this murder was George Yard, a place appropriately known locally as the slaughterhouse. As in both other cases, there was in this not the slightest clue to the murderer. No one was known to have any motive for causing the woman's death. She was parted from her husband and had lived with a man named Turner, but the searching coroner's inquiry revealed nothing connecting either with the crime. It was fancied that some of her many wounds had been caused by a bayonet, and she was said to have been seen with a soldier shortly before her death. Some soldiers paraded at the tower, and one was said to have been identified by a policeman as having been waiting about George Yard just about the time of the murder, but nothing came of it. The murder, which, strangely enough, did not rouse much interest, was committed in Osborne Street. The woman in that case was alive when discovered, but unconscious, and she died in the hospital without recovering her senses. Consequently, she was unable to whisper a word to the police on the track of her fiendish assailant, and her murder has remained a mystery. All three crimes have been committed within a very small radius. Each of the ill-lighted thoroughfares to which the women were decoyed to be foully butchered are off-turnings from Whitechapel Road, and all are within half a mile. The fact that these three tragedies have been committed within such a limited area and so strangely alike in their details is forcing on all minds the conviction that they are the work of some cool, cunning man with a mania for murder. There was no new light thrown on the case this morning. At 9 o'clock, the body of the deceased was removed from the mortuary to an improvised operating room on the premises, and Dr. Ralph Llewellyn made a post-mortem examination. The object of the examination was to determine, if possible, the order in which the various cuts were made. It is evident from the cuts in the throat that the head was bent back by the murderer before the knife was used. Whether the other mutilation took place before or after death remains to be settled, as also the position in which the woman lay when the deed was done. There are several questions of this kind which may throw light on the case, notably the small quantity of blood at the place where she was found, and the fact that there must have been much of it somewhere else. At present, clues to the murder are entirely lacking, and the location of the place where the deed was done was the first point necessary to establish. Okay, it's very interesting altogether there. We have 3 crimes, 3 deaths. Just a few items to note. I'm just looking through their documents, notes, map. Okay, it's not showing the map because I haven't found the map yet, I don't think. Quickly to note that back at the time, if you had a body in a mortuary, literally anybody could come in and see the body and check the body. You would check with the police or whatever first, and just you could literally walk in and take a look at the body. If it was an unknown person, you could literally go in and see the person. Of course, the police wouldn't let just anybody in or anything, but often if somebody said they knew, maybe they might know the person or something like that, they would just let them in and let them look at them. That was often the way they found out some people, So sometimes you would have a crowd of people hanging around who just couldn't wait to get a look at a dead body, Or might say, yeah, I know them, just so they to go take a look, That's just the way it was, Another thing is to remember that also during the time that obviously during the late 1800s, there's no such thing as welfare or some kind of Medicare or some kind of, health or insurance or any kind of pension plans or something like that for people. So, that's a rather recent thing. And so also, according to law, women had very little rights as far as material goods and money and that type of thing. So if they were married to somebody, for example, and their husband left them, they would literally have no, or if they left a husband who was, being bad to them, or if they just, whatever, they just took off from the houses because they didn't like them or whatever, for any reason, they would have no material support. They would have no, they would have no money, basically. And often they would have very little, very little opportunity to have a job that you might do things like, for a woman who didn't have means, or in other words, a woman who was rich, basically, or upper middle class or well off, not necessarily rich, but well off. Any kind of, poorer woman would have to take some kind of job or try to get any kind of work they could, like, some kind of washing or needlework or something like that type of thing. And obviously there's only so much to go around, and they're only going to make so much money off it, you know what I mean? There weren't any high-paying jobs for women, put it that way. There was there's very little in the way of, business. There weren't any CEO women back then, and there certainly weren't very many women doctors or anything like that, so they weren't going to be able to make money to support themselves very well. And often in poorer areas, they would often turn to prostitution on the side to try to make money to survive for the night or whatever, or survive for that time or whatever. And unfortunately, they would also, if you're in that type of life, you turn to drink and things like that, and there was a great deal of drug use going on as well, so it's unsurprising that you would find, you'd find this going on in certain areas of the cities and whatever, of certain areas. Whitechapel was considered one of the worst areas. So, okay, let's go back to let's get the first-person perspective. I sort of like this. You control Dr. Watson to move in-game. Just left-click on the destination you want to reach. Double-click will make him run. Now I could just... Okay, good. Yeah, I'm using WASD. I can walk. Good. They have these little hourglass things for the things I can look at.
Well,
What's
well.
this?
Holmes has received some French champagne with a card. A gift from a young admirer. Signed, Raoul d'Andrecy. Who on earth could that be?
Raoul d'Andrecy? Oh, I don't remember that name. I'll have to check it out.
Holmes's experiment table.
Of course.
Holmes's experiment table.
Oh, that's sort of cool. They changed the hourglass to green. There's an hourglass there, and so if you already looked at it, it turns green. That's great. I like that. That's very nice. Oh, here's the sign of the dancing men.
The Adventure of the Dancing Men. I remember it well.
Oh, I like this. This, and again, I have to say this is his violin.
Holmes's violin. He doesn't play nearly enough, if you ask me.
Again, I find the graphics to be not only adequate but fairly good for an adventure game. I really like these. I really like the. It's not great, you know. Obviously, it's average to, you know. It's average. Put it that way. It's average to not that great, but I don't mind it at all.
Treaty on Cornish, the Celtic dialect of Cornwall. And here, medieval pottery. How can Holmes possibly read such things?
Okay, what do we have here? No? Oh, that's the door. Here's his slipper that he puts his tobacco in. Okay, now look at it. What's going
Holmes
on?
uses this old Persian slipper to hold his pipe tobacco. This is the coal bucket in which Holmes keeps his cigars. What a funny idea. This is how Holmes stores his post. Thank goodness his clients don't see this.
That's his mail. He actually, he has a knife that he just stabs into. He just stabs the mail into the table here. It's sort of funny. They don't mention her at all. Not really. Okay. Let's see. We got that in the map. I'm assuming the woman they have the picture here is the woman, but maybe not. Oh no, because that would be in his room. Okay, so let's get the map here.
A map of London, at last. Let's see. The district of Whitechapel.
Apparently there's Whitechapel. The big, huge circle Whitechapel. Now I wonder if this is an actual period. They must have come across an actual period map. There must be period, like appropriate. I'm talking maps of the at the actual time in the 1888. There has to be hundreds of them all over the place. For all the people that are interested in Jack the Ripper and everything, in the Ripper murders. Because obviously it does not look like this now. The streets are different, and there's some of them are different. You know, obviously over 100 years' time, things changed. You know. So, what do we got here? Is this my room? Must be. It's clean. Let's take a look what we got here. Anything fun? Razor basin, usual stuff. Chamber pot. Newspaper behind the dresser there. Nice tailored suit. Oop. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, this is my writing, I assume. Oh, very nice pictures. A picture of a heart. Why he has it on the wall, I'm not sure, but okay. Let's see what Holmes is up to. Holmes, I got the map. Go on.
Have you found the map of London, Watson? Come, my friend, it can't be too far. Be sure to locate the police station in Whitechapel we must get to.
Understood, Holmes.
Oh, okay. All right. We're just. Oh, he just wants to just to go right there. Okay. All right. Oh, so in the meantime, I was just browsing. Okay. Is there anything moving in the street? Can I go outside? Can I go out the door? Let's see here. Ah, it does. It just goes right to the thing. Okay. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end this session here. And we'll start up again when we hit Whitechapel. So, so far, I'm not disappointed. As always, I enjoy this type of game. And I really do like it. I really like these Sherlock Holmes games. I just do. You know. That's funny. Yeah, it does have an electric switch, huh? Does he? Yes, I believe he does. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to start next. That was obviously this is just the introduction to the game, and we'll get to the main story next episode. So please join me then, and hopefully we'll enjoy some more Sherlock Holmes. And just sit back and check out a quiet mystery. I like these, so. Okay, I'm Bunnysays. Thank you for joining me, and if you like this, please like and subscribe and all that stuff, so. Okay, thank you for now, and goodbye.